who expected Beijing-Riyadh harmony
Exactly.
of this extent?
Right.
Right?
And we were supposed to have good relations with Saudi Arabia.
I know that, one bilateral relationship is not necessarily at the cost of the other.
True, but
I mean,
even
that too is crude.
Yeah.
Every country has a right to build its own lines of, self-interest
Sure.
elsewhere too.
Right.
But I think this is still, it certainly shocked Washington. I haven't recovered from it.
Correct.
Right? And it may have sent a few tremors also in Delhi.
Hello and welcome to StratNewsGlobal. You're on our evening program, The Gist. This evening, my special guest is MJ Akbar, famous editor, thinker and writer, talking to us about the Ukraine war and its fallout, not just on Russia and Ukraine or the West, but also the global order. Welcome to this program, sir, and thank for your time.
Thank you very much, Nitin.
We've sort of grown up on your books you've written, but one of the reasons why I wanted to discuss or have you on this program was your recent essay on Ukraine and the consequences of the Ukraine war, where you said it's a European war with Asian consequences. So, because our audience is actually someone or some of the people who look forward to fresh insights, and I thought this was a fresh insight. Explain to me or to the audience why you said that it's that kind of a war.
Well, first, very simple, Nitin, just look at the map.
Okay.
Where is Asia? Asia begins with the Caucasus.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Where are the Caucasus? They're next to Ukraine.
Sure.
Right. Now, we have this image of Russia as a European country. It's a nonsense. I mean, it's 9 out of 11 or 10 out of 12, Russia's time zones are in Asia.
Right.
It's a huge expanse.
Absolutely.
From the Urals and from the Caucasus right up to Vladivostok and up to the Bering Strait.
Sure.
So that's where not only is it a vast expanse of land, which was basically conquered by the Tsars in the 19th century, 18th century.
Correct.
But, let's get to the significant fact.
Yeah.
There are facts and there are significant facts.
That's right.
90% of Russia's natural resources, they come from Siberia. They come from here.
That's
so
right.
the bright lights of St. Petersburg and Moscow are basically financed
by the Asian part.
Yeah. That's one.
Yeah.
Number two, look at the Russian south, Ukraine, which how far is Ukraine from Muslim Caucasus? The northern Caucasus is Muslim.
Yeah.
That's where the Chechens are, the Dagestanis are, the Ishtims are.
Right.
Right? It's next door.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And now, the point is very simple. What is the reaction to any perception of Russian military weakness?
Right.
Now, I look at the West.
Yes.
And their support for Ukraine. I mean, I don't support arbitrary invasion of any other country.
Sure.
Let's be very clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
About that. That's aggression.
Right.
But it has happened.
Yes.
Once it has happened, we have to look objectively at the consequences.
Sure.
Today already, irrespective of where the war is going or has gone, I think it is safe to say, I do believe that eventually there has to be some territorial compromise on which there will be a kind of
agreement or
pact or a Korea kind of solution. Or
exactly. Yeah.
Or some kind of an solution, because war fatigue is beginning to set in and on all sides. Irrespective of what happens when the ceasefire takes place, let's say that there is no end technically to the war, but there will be a ceasefire. What is the perception that the neighborhood carries with it?
Right.
And I've put it, I think, quite successfully that, Russia is a superpower, Russia is a nuclear power, Russia is this and
Sure.
Russia is that. Russia can blow up the world in 5 minutes,
Absolutely.
but takes slightly longer
That's true.
destroy Ukraine.
Destroy. Yes.
So the fact of the matter is that the perception that of Russian military strength,
Yes.
particularly after its success in Syria
Yeah.
and in the Levant,
Yes.
of a renewed and capable fighting machine has already been weakened.
Right. Correct.
What forces does it sort of encourage, challenge?
Right.
People forget that for 200 years now, the Chechens have been demanding independence.
Right. Exactly.
Right? I mean, these are the Khanates
Yes.
were lost.
Right.
And the Chechen jihad is not new. The Chechen jihad goes back to Shah Ismail, and who is buried, by the way, in Medina, who is
Yes.
honored.
Right.
And the revival of that is a possibility,
Sure.
a distinct possibility, once the Chechens, who are big fighters,
Right.
great fighters,
Yes.
tough fighters,
Correct.
begin to see that what they were denied in 1991,
Right.
after all, lands south
Right.
of Chechnya and Dagestan, Georgia, Azerbaijan,
Yes.
and Armenia.
Yeah.
They won
Right.
independence from
Correct.
Soviet Union, but
Correct.
why were the Chechens denied?
Denied that. So they would start pushing back
They,
against
they
the
would,
Russians.
I mean,
Yeah.
inevitably.
Inevitable.
People also don't seem to realize that there are Chechens fighting on behalf of Ukraine.
Yes. Which is a little known fact, actually.
Yeah, little known fact. Now, why are they fighting? Not
Right.
because they love the
No.
Ukrainians, because they want to weaken Russia.
Right. Right.
Because the war, one of the sort of known unknown,
Yes.
to use
Yeah.
Donald Rumsfeld term,
Yes.
of the 21st century has been the continuing conflict with Chechnya.
Right. Right.
How long will it take for it to revive?
Exactly.
And if the jihad in the Muslim Caucasus
Right.
actually revives,
Sure.
then there is an automatic fallout
On
on to its south first.
Right. Correct.
And to its south is ISIS.
Yes.
Oh, has been. How far is Iraq?
Absolutely.
How
Correct.
far is Erbil
Peninsula, Arabian Peninsula.
Kurds,
Yeah.
no,
Oh, your Kurds. Yeah, of course.
from there? How far is Mosul from there?
Right.
You know, one of the reasons why Putin was very keen on the Levant, because he understands
Right.
the implications for
Correct.
Russia
For Russia. Yeah.
of losing
this.
Syria.
So very interesting. Yeah.
And if you go, these are all countries on the western coast of the Caspian.
Absolutely.
You move to the eastern coast of the Caspian, and there's Central Asia.
That's right.
It's a
These stance,
Because
yeah,
continuation of the Muslim stance.
that's right.
And these stance go right up to Siberia,
Absolutely.
up to Mongolia and out to Manchuria.
That's right.
Now let's take Outer Manchuria. In 1842, the Chinese lost Hong Kong to the
Correct.
British.
Yes.
They didn't forget.
No, and they brought it back.
They took
They
it
got
back in 1990s.
That's right.
When did they lose Manchuria?
Around that time.
1840.
Yeah, exactly. So they
Only
will
2
take
years before. Why should they forget 1840 but remember?
No, 42. Exactly.
The Chinese have claim
Yes.
that they lost 1.5 million square kilometers. 1.5 million square
Exactly.
kilometers,
That's
which will
right.
take you right up to the Siberian region, which, whoever controls the Siberian
Will control the world.
resources will control the economic growth of the century.
Right. Right.
Now, another known, unknown is that Mao Zedong launched 2 wars.
Yes.
One was against India in
69 was.
And 1969, he launched a war against the
Soviet Union. Yeah.
which lasted for 7 months.
That's right.
In the Himalayas, it lasted for 3 weeks.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
There it lasted for 7 months. And what was it for? It was for Outer Manchuria. and for these reasons.
Exactly. So
What
this
is
must be.
Just finish on one point.
Sure.
Never forget that the original name of what you know as Siberia is Sibir.
Okay. This I also didn't know.
It's a khanate
Okay.
of Sibir.
Sibra. Okay.
So, and these places were only conquered, as I said,
Right,
in the middle
right.
of the 19th century.
Yeah. So that brings me to this, that you've said in your essay, again, I'll come back to that Russia is still strong in Asia. It is weak in Europe. So why are the Western countries saying that let's weaken Russia? It is already weak in Europe.
Yeah, that my argument was that assuming that of course, the Western countries will never say that NATO was created in order to weaken
Russia. Yes,
it was
Soviet Union.
Soviet Union.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Yeah,
They are entitled to hold to that position.
sure.
But part of the reason, certainly one part of the reason is that you cannot allow arbitrary aggression,
Right.
which is good. And I think on that, almost every country has taken a stand, even countries which are friendly to
Yes,
Russia.
absolutely.
Our Prime Minister Modi, has said that war is not a solution.
Correct.
And so on.
Yeah,
The Chinese have expressed something similar,
right.
but with less clarity and more typical Chinese fudge.
Yeah, exactly.
So, however, be that as it may, the other option, the other sort of driving force
Right.
is the desire to weaken Russia
Yes.
in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I have called a strategic fallacy, because you can't weaken anyone where that country is not strong.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the Russians lost Europe in 1990.
When they broke up, the Soviet Union broke up, Right.
So that's an old story. But this, I think, Putin's misadventure, I
Right.
like to call it,
Correct.
and the consequences of it, is that it won't weaken Russia in Europe, but it will weaken Russia in those parts of Asia where it does retain influence.
Right.
Direct grip
Yes.
over the Northern Caucasus, and certainly substantive influence in
Yes.
Central Asia.
Yeah, it is. It has got back some influence in Central Asia now, after a patient, I think, work there. But interestingly, what you said also about the China-Russia equation. If they went to war in 1969, subsequently they made up. Mikhail Gorbachev went there on the day when, around the Tiananmen massacre in '89, and sort of it started their, let's say, rapprochement started that time. But today, the big brother position of Russia is no longer true for China, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, if the Chinese, the Chinese are clearly sending very, very
Strong
specific signals that, look, they are the ones. And in fact, the Chinese have sent very strong signals this year to America as well.
Yes.
And they've challenged America in the heart of American influence territory.
Yes, sure.
Which is West Asia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saudi Arabia.
Correct.
They're bringing together the Saudis and the Iranians must count as a diplomatic coup.
Absolutely.
And this picture was not taken in Camp David.
Right.
It was
taken in
Beijing.
India, exactly.
Deliberately so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the Chinese have expanded. The Chinese will. It's a question is whether, to what extent will China go, and will China use the creep strategy or the strike strategy?
Sure.
But I have no doubt in my mind that China will seek to expand its presence, if you like, to say that, or its attempt to get back the rights in some methodology or the other, step by step, towards the natural resources of Siberia.
Right.
And they would definitely, territorially, would want to get out of Manchuria back. The islands there around there is part of the map. The 1848 map, the Wing map.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And they go right up to the Bering Strait.
Sure. Absolutely.
So this is
so they will do that, but this goes to the contrary to the usual perception right now that China is weakening, its economy is down. But this is a temporary phenomenon in your view.
Look, the economy, if you look at it objectively, the real economies that have suffered are American and European.
Of course, inflation is unprecedentedly high.
But do we discount the military capability of America because of that?
No, we don't. Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or we discount America's ability to put weight behind its muscle because of that.
Yeah.
Economies go through cyclical
Ups and downs.
Ups and
really.
downs.
Yeah.
China, even if it weakens, it's not going to go back to the 1990s.
No, it won't. No, definitely. And it's a 17 trillion economy anyway. GDP.
Economy.
So, yeah.
What are we talking about?
So that is. So what consequences for India then? A rising China or a stronger China, a weakening Russia, a weakening Europe and America. What consequences?
I think it is clear to me that the China's policy towards India will not be so crude as to teach them a lesson.
Not 62.
Yeah, that's crude. And plus, India is not what it was in '62.
Right.
Anybody coming to teach us a lesson might learn one or two few lessons themselves.
Which we saw partly in Ladakh anyway.
Yeah. So it's not that here is here is an army without shoes.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
As we had in '62.
Right. Yeah.
Or army without ammunition.
Yeah. Or even winter clothing.
I'm afraid that was a situation 10 years ago.
Right.
That we didn't have sufficient ammunition
Sure.
and so on and so
Yes.
forth.
Yeah.
Today we have infrastructure, we have done, and Prime Minister Modi has made
Yes.
quite sure
Absolutely.
that our defenses are
Strong.
enhanced,
Very
solid,
strong. Yeah. Exactly.
on some footing.
Yes.
So, but
Huh.
we miss the what I call the subtlety of Chinese foreign policy.
Okay.
And it is subtle, and you have to give them credit.
And so, if you can explain that subtlety.
They would seek the isolation of India from Asia.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
All the bridges that the PM himself has spent the first 5 years building so with such great strength.
Right.
For example, who expected Beijing Riyadh harmony
Exactly.
of this extent?
Right.
Right?
And we were supposed to have good relations with Saudi Arabia.
I
yeah.
know that, one bilateral relationship is not necessarily at the cost of the other.
True, but
I mean, that
yeah.
too is crude.
Yeah.
Every country has a right to build its own lines of, self-interest
Sure.
elsewhere too.
Right.
But I think this is still, it's certainly shocked Washington. I haven't recovered from it.
Correct.
Right? And it may have sent a few tremors also in Delhi.
I'm sure, which we don't get to know, but yeah.
So with this, I mean, now we definitely have enough goodwill to repair this.
Right.
It's not, certainly not, we are
Not a lost case. Yeah.
And I know the number of trips NSA has made and so on is all having substantive
Correct.
effect.
Yes.
But the isolation of India from West Asia,
Right up to.
if you draw a line
Yeah.
from Riyadh to Beijing,
Right.
you will see
Yes.
that the only country east of the line
Yes.
would be India primarily
Correct.
and Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Now, Southeast Asia, the Chinese will manage, and that's
It's like their backyard now, basically.
yeah. And the Saudis, of course, will continue their relationship.
Right.
But the isolation of India can be a very effective because we already have this 300-mile wide wall called Pakistan.
Yes, of course.
To our west.
I know, and that can be of great nuisance value, if not.
Great nuisance value. That way, the massive Chinese investment in Pakistan.
Sure, of course.
Massive at this moment as we speak.
Yes.
Their relationship with Iran.
Exactly.
So you see country after country to the west. Pakistan hostile.
Yes.
Afghanistan being wooed
Yeah, by Chinese.
by the Chinese. Iran already seeing China as a reliable partner against America.
Sure.
Right? Syria.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again in the Russian via Moscow. Exactly.
Within this growing, implicit grouping.
Sure.
Iraq still lost in its own self-interest.
Right.
But certainly far more under Iranian influence.
Then it ever was. Yeah, exactly.
Right? And then there is Saudi.
Absolutely.
So you can see the consolidation
That's true.
that is happening.
And as we speak, Iran has joined BRICS, which is primarily a China-Russia project.
Well, in the sense, I must say that today some of our friends are also.
Yes, they are also.
I mean, we have
UAE is there.
UAE is there, and we now have a much better relationship with Egypt
Yes. So Egypt is also going in there. They're also joining.
2 ago,
Sure.
when I was in Cairo,
Right.
recently.
Mhm.
And I know for a fact that this is something that we would welcome,
Right.
support. So I think the balance is.
Sure, but that is a danger of isolation in Asia.
But
Mm.
you can see that the effective Chinese policy,
Right.
if they can create isolation, if they can create a perception
Yeah.
among Saudis and so on. And now, what is really Saudis'
Interest in that.
interest?
Yes.
The Saudis are looking. I mean, let's leave individual
Sure.
angst,
Right.
which probably does exist.
Absolutely.
Because I think the Americans were not very wise when they attacked the crown prince.
Sure.
In such
Yeah.
harsh terms.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was undiplomatic.
That's
It
right.
was unnecessary.
And he'll not forget that, I'm sure.
You and he would
Yeah.
forget that.
Exactly.
But even if you leave the personal angst aside,
Mm.
it would be in Saudi interest to assert its strategic autonomy.
Sure. Absolutely.
I mean, that is what it's not going to be tied to the apparent strings
Of the US forever.
forever. So it is also in the natural course
Right.
of affairs.
Correct.
This would happen.
Absolutely.
And Washington should have made this.
Sure.
If they can create this perception that for right reasons or wrong, that because of Quad or because of this, we are rather more pro-American than we actually are,
Right.
then it has its consequences. And I think this is what the Chinese would want it
Yeah,
to be.
do
So
that,
in
yeah.
Asia, we would then have Japan really
Sure.
as a reliable
Partner or a friend.
friend
Exactly.
among the important powers.
Sure.
With, of course, useful relations with Southeast Asia.
Sure.
And perhaps a growing relationship with Indonesia.
True. One final question, sir, about Taiwan. That question always bothers people. That what are the Chinese going to do about Taiwan? Will they move against them by 2027, as some American generals and analysts have predicted? And what should be India's response to it?
Well, let's take I have a slightly heretical view
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
G and Taiwan. I don't believe that he will invade Taiwan,
Okay.
because that would mean invading his own country,
Acting against his own people.
against his own people, destroying in any
Right.
war
Yeah.
Chinese infrastructure.
Sure.
In his perspective,
They're part of
Taiwan
China.
is China.
Yeah, exactly.
You see,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
But he could
Hmm.
actually do a very interesting kind of maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
He could, by saying that Taiwan is part of China,
Mm-hmm.
actually throw out a blockade against any American naval presence,
True.
and then ask the world,
Do you now react to it?
you react to it. Do you have the whole world, nearly
Yes.
the whole world,
Yes.
starting with India,
Correct.
has recognized Taiwan as a part of
Part of China, yes.
China.
So one China policy has been
One
there.
China policy has
Yeah,
been there.
yeah.
So Beijing could well ask, he
Right.
said, what are you perturbed about?
Correct.
And then I think negotiate a settlement after this maybe a Cuban style.
Okay. So yes, there are
so-
so many possibilities. Yeah,
So
exactly.
many possibilities. Ask the world, why don't you do a Hong Kong style settlement?
That's very interesting, actually, because that will mean that Xi Jinping, without firing a bullet, has actually achieved what he wanted.
This is what Chinese.
Right.
I mean, if you read Kissinger and so on,
Sure.
this has always been.
They want to win without fighting, basically.
Without fighting, and this is, I think, part of.
Their strategy.
John.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
No. But very interesting thoughts, because, see, this is what makes it very refreshing when you write these long essays, because taking such a large view of especially Russia's Asian connection has been something that was very instructive. And so thank you very much for your insights and your time, and the very fact that you have painted scenarios which will probably be discussed further in our programs going forward. So thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Nitin. Always a pleasure to talk.
Pleasure. Thank you. So that's Mr. MJ Akbar speaking to us on something that you viewers may not have heard on our programs, at least, if not anywhere else. So do keep watching Strat News Global. You know where to reach us. Do keep sending your comments and feedback. They're always welcome. And of course, subscribe to our social media handles, our YouTube channel, which will keep us going. For the time being, it's goodbye.